everyone is quite safe and healthy. Today, let's begin our English session with the poem Keeping Quiet, which is very relevant in the modern times, that is especially during this lockdown period. Pablo Neruda is a Nobel Prize winner. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. In this poem, Pablo Neruda advocates keeping quiet. Keeping quiet does not mean inactivity, but what he advocates is superactivity. He tells us that there is a need for introspection, retrospection, and which will eventually lead to mutual understanding. Now, what is introspection? Introspection means looking within ourselves. What is retrospection? Retrospection is looking behind our past actions. Now, introspection and retrospection will lead to mutual understanding among human beings and create a feeling of brotherhood and peace. Here he gives a message for unity, peace, and universal brotherhood. The poet has solicited here that we must cease all our activities and be quiet for a moment and come under one umbrella of silence, breaking the differences we possess. He gives us a call to break the barriers of enmity, creed, caste, religion, and country and get united to introspect ourselves despite all the negativities for a better world. This poem was originally written in Spanish, but later translated into English. Pablo Neruda usually wrote his poems with green ink. Green ink for him symbolized hope, a hope for future mankind. He called it Esperanzo. Esperanzo in Spanish means hope. Pablo Neruda urges us not to consider keeping quiet to be total inactivity, but keeping quiet is a state we do the most precious act, that is introspection, retrospection, and taking a right decision. He even urges us not to confuse it with death. He rather gives us a call to think about our single-mindedness. We should stop a while and put aside our possessiveness and narrow-minded thoughts.
Message for unity, peace, universal brotherhood. The poet has solicited here that we must cease all our activities and be quiet for a moment and come under one umbrella of silence, breaking the differences we possess. He gives us a call to break the barriers of enmity, every creed, caste, religion, and country, and get united to introspect ourselves. Now we will count to 12 and we'll all keep still. Pablo Neruda begins with these two lines. The poet begins with counting till 12. He chose 12 for several reasons. 12 actually hints at the 12 hours of the day which rules our lives, or the 12 zodiac signs which are believed to be the controlling forces of our lives. 12 may also refer to the 12 months of a year, or 12 may be even aimed for a preparation for all to be ready to plunge into the state of silence. The poetic devices used here in these lines are we will, that is alliteration. Now as these words we will has been repeated twice, it is also repetition. And we are having one more poetic device here, that is count and still. It is antithesis, also known as contrast. Count, he asks us to count something, and still he asks us to be quiet. So opposite to is. That is why the poetic device contrast. Now let us move over to the next lines. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. The poet here urges everyone to break the barriers of language and unite with one invisible tune. That is the tune of silence. With the word earth, the poet hints at all the human beings, devoid of the identity of country, creed, religion, caste, class, etc. As we all know, languages have created rifts. Religions have created rifts. Castes have created rifts. Language creating rift in India is rampant. Indians are divided based on languages. We are divided based on religion. We are divided based on castes, etc. You have also learnt about linguistic chauvinism in the last lesson. Though language is the identity of a country or a race, he affirms that humans are more important and the identity of being a human on earth is a broader realization than the language that he speaks, or the caste he belongs to, the religion he belongs to, or the class or the country that he belongs to. He plods us to speak the language of silence, and he says this will bring unity among all humans on the face of earth. The poetic devices used in these lines are one's on, alliteration, and the next one, that is metonymy. The language is an instance of metonymy here, that is the word language, because it's used as a symbol for many other things. That is, it may represent a religion, it may represent a caste, class, country, etc. Now let's move over to the next lines. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. The poet here urges to stop for 1 second. Here, second represents one of the tiniest parts of time calculations. He ushers us to keep ourselves off for at least 1 second from the negative aspects of our lives. Here, arms is with dual meaning. He apparently indicates arms as our hands engaged in several activities and at the same time refers to the weapons we use for destruction. The poetic devices in use is arms is a pun because it has two meanings. The first meaning is for hands and the next one, arms, refers to the weapons.